Hello, and welcome to this evening's Hip Historian Virtual Happy Hour Tour. I am Brenda Holt with AARP Arizona. During the month of March, we will focus on providing resources to help consumers manage their debt and savings and provide trusted information to make the best financial decisions. AARP is your wise friend and a fierce defender of consumers' finances, and we are helping you manage money while fighting on your behalf to protect what you've earned. We are here for you, and we will help you navigate the challenging road ahead. Visit us at aarp.org/money or aarp.org/moneymap. AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence of over 38 million members and 900,000 right here in Arizona, AARP works to strengthen communities, and we advocate for what matters most to families, such as health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. We're glad you can join us this evening. I'll now turn things over to Marshall Shore.
Ladies and gentlemen, non-blind every folk, welcome to the show. Get ready to meet your host for the night, Arizona's very own hip historian himself, Marshall Shore.
Hello, good evening. I want to welcome you all to Arizona History Happy Hour. I am so happy that you are able to join us. Oh my gosh. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, Arizona History Happy Hour is hosted by me, Marshall Shore. We'll get into a little bit more about kind of what's going on and what kind of things you can expect to see in just a moment. But I always like to start off with a little bit of, so April 14th, today is what kind of things happened? Well, here in Arizona, back in 1928, down in Nogales, a brewery caught fire and burned all the way down to the ground. And there was nothing left of it. Now, also 100 years earlier, the first edition of Webster's Dictionary is published with over 70,000 entries. And that really became kind of the standard for the English language. Now, today is also Dolphin Day, as we get to celebrate those lovely creatures that we see swimming in the water, those mammals that belong to the same family as the whale and porpoises. It is also Look Up at the Sky Day, to remind us all to take a moment and just glance up into the sky. Arizona has such beautiful sunsets. So take a moment and gaze up either tomorrow with the sunset, because I know it's already passed, but there'll be some stars out tonight. And one of the things I love is that even the color of stars depend on the temperature and how brightly they're burning. And even if you look up in the day, clouds can weigh almost 1 million pounds, which I think is so incredible. They're so light and fluffy looking, but they're not light. So again, welcome so much. So what can you expect this evening? So we've got an amazing show for you tonight. So we always do a little bit of Arizona trivia. We also cover some Arizona music. We'll talk about a little town, as well as From the Vault, which is something you might not know is in plain sight, or maybe behind the walls and behind a museum, down in the catacombs, who knows? There's always also a cocktail or a beverage and a special guest. And we have a very special guest this evening, but we'll get into that in just a moment. Now, if this is your first time watching, you might wonder, who is that man and why is he on my screen? Well, I said, my name is Marshall Shore, and I have been here a little over 22 years. So I was working in a library in Brooklyn, a beautiful Carnegie building, and decided that through all the snow and slush, it was time for a change. And so traded that for a lovely library down in South Phoenix. That was really one of the first libraries in the Valley, actually the first branch library for the city of Phoenix. And there was this rich oral tradition of the community. So that's one of the things that really kind of got me going and talking about what I'm doing right now, talking about kind of that modern history of Arizona. Now, as soon as we got here, we promptly moved into a beautiful 1956 ranch. Now, there's what my kitchen looks like today. All that buttercream yellow tile with matching appliances. In fact, some friends call our house the Unmuseum because everything is functional and usable. Now, as soon as we got here, all I kept hearing about how there was no history here. But I knew that wasn't true because every time I'd go for an adventure, whether it was on foot, on a bike, in a car, I kept running across so many amazing people, places, and stories. Again, leading me exactly into what we're doing now. I also think that that post-war boom kind of made the Arizona that we all know and love today. All those GIs that either were stationed here, trained here, or they were passing through on their way to somewhere else. And after the war, they were moving here in huge numbers, looking for a whole new way of life, bringing their cars and changing Arizona. Now, I'm also called the hip historian. Now, you might wonder, what does that really mean? Well, it means I get to play a lot with Arizona history. Why, coming up in just a couple of weeks, we have Arizona Tiki Oasis, which is happening over at the Hotel Valley Ho. It's going to be 4 days of Polynesian kitsch, Hawaiian shirts, Hawaiian muumuus, kaftans, great music, and probably a few cocktails. Also coming up early next month, I can now say I am officially one of the presenters of Ignite Phoenix. I think there are 11 of us, and it's a really great roster. It's a really great way to get through a lot of different concepts, stories, ideas, in a 5-minute context, and then that person leaves the stage and on comes someone else with something completely different. So that will be Wednesday, May 4th, out at Scottsdale Center for the Arts. And I know if you look up Scottsdale Center for the Arts, there are tickets available right now. Now, I see some of you have already found the chat. You can always reach out to me either in the chat or after the show. If you have something you want to share, maybe you have a story idea. Maybe you've got something else. You know, you can always reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, email, or even through my website. And it's all Hip Historian. All right, so now we come to the portion of our show where, so PJ with the amazing Valley Ho has created, we were just talking today. We keep talking about we need to do a kind of an anniversary cocktail show because PJ has created over 100 cocktails just for this show. And for tonight's show, he has created something he is calling Hummingbird Punch. It's got a little pineapple vodka in it. It's got some banana puree, some cloves, a little bit of cinnamon, ginger, ancho reyes, which is nice and smoky and chilly, as well as hibiscus flower tea. And the beauty is he always pre-mixes them. So basically, I just have to pour it in a glass. Well, that's not true. We were just chatting. Sometimes he challenges me and makes me have to mix things or shake things up. And actually, Ryan, we've been talking about exactly that, about trying to do some sort of a celebration of some of the best cocktails that he's put out, as well as the stories of the cocktails, because that's kind of what I like, is the fact that they really fit so nicely in. And I know I think it's next month, we're going to be out doing a bit at Bonehouse Brewery out in Fountain Hills. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so now we come to a portion called Little Arizona, where we get a chance to talk about a small town that you may or may not be aware of in Arizona. And so today we are going to talk about Castle Dome City. It is now a population of 2. Oh, and I forgot to put when it was established. We'll get into that in just a moment. It is now considered a ghost town because, you know, at its height, it was established in 1864. And at its height, it had 300 plus mines. It had over 3,000 people going. And, you know, it was one of those places that when it was going full tilt, it was larger than Yuma. Now that's very much not the case because there's only 2 people that live there, Alan and his wife. They run the Castle Dome Mine Museum. And so what he's done is he's brought this little town back to life and chock blocked the buildings full of all kinds of amazing goodies. You know, it's so much fun getting to wander through the hotel, getting to go through the little 1950s diner. He has done such a great job with creating this town. Well, actually bringing the town together, saving it, preserving it, as well as there is indeed an old mine that you get to go down into. He's shorted up so it's not as quite as dangerous as some of the other mines, which are really, you can still see they're just big holes in the ground that I don't think I would have lasted very long as a miner at all. And so it was fun. There's actually down in this mine, there is a fluoride wall. So they'll turn on the black light and that wall just glows. So we had a blast out there. We were there for a few days. And, you know, there were a variety of folks that were hanging out at the mine. So, you know, as time goes on, it was mined from the 1860s into the 1970s, which makes it one of the longest operating mines in Arizona. And there's so much that happened here. It was known to be quite a violent place. Actually, not far from here, there was a stagecoach robbery, which happened quite often, but there was a massacre. You also have a cemetery right in the middle of town that really just kind of, one of the things I like about old cemeteries is this one didn't even recognize who was there. But you know, all those towns were full of people, and this is just a remnant of all those people and the lives that were changed, and sometimes for the good, sometimes for the not so good. All right, so now is the time we get to talk about our special guest. And I am so excited because, you know, Chris and I have been chatting about trying to do this for quite a while. And so I'm so excited to bring on Chris. Hello.
Hello, you caught me mid-drink.
Oh, so what are you drinking?
So I love it. I love your hummingbird drink. I thought that was awesome because I actually drank a drink that it's called the Nature Nectar Bomb. And I said, how fitting that I'm drinking something kind of nectary and you're drinking a hummingbird drink. So it's a drink that if you ever go to one of my shows here in Tucson, you can get at the bar. So
nice. So Chris, tell folks a little bit about yourself because not everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Chris. I go by the stage name of Miss Nature. I have been pretty much involved in the community since 2007 and have pretty much been involved in different capacities. But right now I'm currently just kind of performing and doing charity events. And then now I just started kind of my business venture as Miss Nature. And so, yeah. 14 years, and I'm really excited and look forward to all the things ahead. So
very cool. So I know we've got some trivia coming up because you've been traveling around the state for several years.
Yes. Never been to Castle Rock City, though. I might have to go perform for 2 people. So, yeah.
So why were you going off into some of these small towns and performing?
So For me, small towns have always been important. I come from a small town of Florence. People usually know it for the prison, but now we have, we have Country Thunder now. Woohoo! And
a great audio tour as well. You can take a
yeah,
little audio tour of Florence. That's really cool.
oh, I did see. I think you were. Well, it's part of the trivia. Never mind. I can't give any secrets here. So I know what it's like to live in a small town and not really have resources. And so I would often have to go to either Phoenix or Tucson. Luckily, Florence is centrally located to both. And I had the means to be able to travel. I realize that not everybody has those same means. And, for me personally, I think part of the issue as far as when it comes to like acceptance and equality issues and voting, the way the jurisdictions kind of happen, everybody moves out of these smaller cities and it leaves people to kind of, fend for them, So I just want to kind of bring a sense of like allowing people to see themselves, in that it's okay, to be who it is they are. Again, not everybody has the means to do the travel. So rural communities will right now and will always be an important part of what I do.
See, and I agree. I mean, it's like for me, I grew up in a town of like 25 people in the middle of farmland in the Midwest. And so, and so that's one of the things I love about Arizona is there are these small little burgs all over the place that very much have a unique flavor, a voice, and are full of characters.
Agreed. I think for me, coming from a small town, I think that's why I have the motto in life that I have, which is, when you come from like little to nothing, like you appreciate things a little bit more too. I think it adds to the ability to appreciate. A lot of people always complain about where it is they live. And I'm like, hey, this is great.
Because it could always be
It could be, yes.
So, all right. Well, I know we're getting ready to do some trivia.
Yes.
So now with our trivia, so it's a little bit different than if people are used to bar trivia, where we will go through our questions that are multiple choice. And it's not just, hey, here's the answer, let's move on. But we get to talk about the story and the answer a little bit. And so for me, that's where the fun and the magic really starts to happen. So
I'm excited. Let's do it.
Indeed. So now you can keep tabs on your answers for the trivia. Some folks do it in the chat. Some folks do it on a pen and paper. Had one friend who did it on his thigh and a magic marker. Whatever floats your boat, you can do it. It's all good. All right. So our first question is, where can you stand on the London Bridge? A, Cameron, B, Lake Havasu, C, Gillespie, or D, Yuma? So which one of those cities in Arizona can you stand on the London Bridge? Right in the middle of it. All right, moving on to question 2. What Arizona location is named for wild garlic growing nearby? All right. Is it A, Garlic, B, Saramisk, C, Adio, or D, Ajo? So what do you think is the name of the town that is named for wild garlic that was growing nearby? All right, moving on to question 3. Name the place that is at the center or the heart of Arizona. Is it A, Bisbee, B, Yuma, C, Chinle, or D, Payson? So where do you think is the center of Arizona? Or some people call it also the heart of Arizona. All right, moving on to question 4. What is the California Zephyr in Maricopa? Is it A, a tunnel, B, a World War II plane, C, a train car, or D, a dirigible? Which one of those do you think is a California zephyr? All right, we're at the halfway point now. Where is the hummingbird capital of the U.S.? Is that Gilbert? Is it Benson? Is it Sierra Vista? Or D, Nogales? And I think here is a very appropriate time to cheers.
Cheers.
A little hummingbird punch, some nectar. It's all good. All right. Where is Lucid Electric Car Plant, a Tesla rival, based? Is it A, Casa Grande, B, Coolidge, C, Patagonia, or D, Yucca? So what city in Arizona can you find the Lucid Electric Car Company and where they're building Lucid cars? All right, moving on to number 7. The name of the southern Arizona city known for expelling striking miners was A, Douglas, B, Bisbee, C, Patagonia, or D, Nogales? All right, moving on to question 8. Where is the enchanted historic fairyland called Valley of the Moon? Is it located in Sedona? A, B, Tucson, C, Clarkdale, or D, Clifton? All right, moving on to question 9. What city can say 3 notorious women, Winnie Ruth Judd, Eva Dugan, and Pearl Hart, stayed there? Was it A, Flagstaff, B, Mayer, C, Yuma, or D, Florence? All right, and coming up to our last question. Which city has hosted Arizona's oldest rodeo starting back in 1888? All right, was that A, Winslow, B, Chinle, C, Patagonia, or D, Prescott? All right, so while you are locking in all your final answers, we are going to take a little bit of an Arizona music break. And so we are going to talk about a musician that was born in Mesa, Jake Shears, who was part of the Scissor Sisters. Now, they've had many hits. Now, their styling, their influences have come from ABBA, Blondie, David Bowie, Duran Duran, Roxy Music, New York Dolls, Cher, Cyndi Lauper, pretty much you name it, they have an influence by them. And, you know, they are still doing things. Not only have they won awards for their music, but right now, Jake is up for a Berlin Music Award for Best Director. So we will find out if he wins Best Director. All right. And you can check out their music on Spotify and hear Jake Shears, who was born right here in Mesa, Arizona. All right. So now we get to have some fun and talk about the answers. All right, so where can you stand on the London Bridge? That's right, it's B, Lake Havasu. Now, Chris, was this one of those places where you performed?
It is. It's actually it was originally scheduled to be the kickoff for the 2022 Arizona Pride Tour. We ended up later adding Casa Grande at a request, but they are by far it is the city that what we sold out and we had to turn people away. They were so welcoming, and we had over 330 people in attendance.
Wow.
It was a great show, And so I have a really good, close relationship with the city and with the mayor there. And so we were welcomed back. They have a organization called the Bureau. It's kind of like a tourism. And so they're really excited and are really excited to make this an annual event for the community because they, often have a lot of like testosterone heightened events. So they're really excited to add a little bit of a different variety of entertainment.
Exactly. Lots of spring break type events going on. And
a lot of dune buggies and a lot of like, you know, going out on boats and yeah.
So while you were there, did you get a chance to visit the London Bridge?
I did. So I run every day. So I had the beautiful pleasure of, while I was there, getting to run across it. And during my run, it is absolutely beautiful. Definitely something I suggest seeing at night as well, if you have the opportunity. The way they illuminate it at night is just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and the way it sits on that water. And so I always think it's funny that people kind of joke about the fact that we have the London Bridge. And it was McCullough who actually started the town, wanted something that was the focal point of it.
And an interesting fact, the McCullough, we had his granddaughter who attended our show.
Wow, that's really cool.
They were in attendance that night.
That's great.
Yeah.
So he bought it from London and basically moved it brick by brick over, and they rebuilt it right in the middle of Lake Havasu.
And I believe, I could be mistaken, I'm almost certain, we might have to fact check this, but I think this was its 50th year anniversary this year. They just
you're right. Because that actually
just celebrated it.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because actually it was put in 71. Yeah. So very cool. Alrighty. So question 2. What city is named for the wild garlic that grows nearby? And that is D. Ajo. All right. So, Chris, tell us a little about your experience in Ajo.
Again, it's interesting that you're choosing the cities that are just loved this show. Ajo was another amazing event. We packed it, not as big as they don't have, you know, of course, larger venues like Havasu had. So still around 200 people, about 180 or so, give or take. And it was just, everybody was just so welcoming. Again, it's another city that we will, in 2023, they wanted to have the return of the tour. And so again, have a really good relationship with them there. And it's just remarkable, the experience. I loved our stay. There is a hotel there. It is actually called it's ran by the International Sonoran Desert Alliance. And I forget what it's called, but it's the Sonoran Desert Inn, I think, and Conference Center. It is a nonprofit. And they just have a lot of stuff they're doing there. That's where we stay. It's like an old school that they've turned into a hotel.
That's cool, because I know the school. I know what you're talking about.
They have a lot.
They turned it into a hotel now. That's really cool.
While we were there was a lot of students that were a part of the program. They have like people that are wanting to be like construction workers or what have you, and they have them do the work, and then they have oversight of individuals that will be there to kind of correct if there's any mistakes, but so they can learn it's a really awesome what they're doing with that venue. If anybody ever has a chance to go, it's truly remarkable.
Well, you know, and so one of my favorite really bad movies was filmed there, Night of the Lepus, which is all about when bunnies attack. Cute little fuzzy bunnies now have grown large and consume.
You ever see the movie Frogs?
So that movie, one of the actresses in that was Miss Arizona 1957.
Oh my gosh. What you're describing to me about the bunnies reminds me of Frogs.
Well, no, I mean, exactly. Kind of that same genre. Okay. And then then you had Captain Kirk up in Clarkdale, Kingdom of the Spiders.
Oh. So
when spiders attack.
At least it was Captain Kirk. Hey.
Indeed. And Land of the Lepus was Janet Leigh from Psycho, but also Dr. McCoy from Star Trek.
So much history.
Indeed. Oh, Ajo is such a fascinating little town.
It is really cute. You know, it's you blink, you miss it, but for what it's worth, it's got a lot of history, a lot of it's another one of those towns where it used to have a lot of people, much like Castle Rock that you were mentioning. Not quite 2 people, but it's definitely dwindled. It's definitely
different than what it was, right? Yeah. But I love how, in kind of that vein of bringing things back, like Bisbee or some of the other towns that have been almost turned into like artist colonies. Yeah, Jerome, like that. So, all right.
Oh, actually, oh well, never mind.
Oh, no worries. Go right ahead.
I was gonna say, going back to Aho, you mentioned artist colonies. Where we performed out of, it's called the Curly School, and they turned the school into a art district. It's full of people who do art in the community, and it's just amazing. They have a lot of local artists, and they all reside in this school that they've turned into like apartment living for artists.
Oh, cool. Now, I've always wanted to go to Aho for Christmas because they do a thing where I think it's on top of the school. Santa comes, lands on the school, and then there are all these like ore cars full of oranges, things like that, that people just go through and make themselves a little goodie bag out of all the things that Santa has brought. That's a holdover from when it was a mining town.
On Christmas Day?
On Christmas Day.
Huh.
So I'm like, oh man, I want to get up there and see that.
Huh.
So
maybe I'll see you there.
That would be great. We could get rooms over at the Sonora.
Yes, you will love it.
Oh, I mean, I love that building. I didn't realize it turned into a hotel. That gives me even more of a reason to go hang out and stay there.
And like I said, it's a nonprofit and they're doing amazing work. So
they are. I mean, I was amazed when I was there a few years ago by just all the art. Even like that sign that we had for the town of Aho. Let me go back to that.
Yeah.
It was like
I actually have a picture. I wish I would have known. I have a picture with that sign in front of it. It is such a beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was a cool sign, this mosaic.
Yeah.
That was done by a local artist. So
they actually have an alley of local art. Like it's like an art alley that you can walk down, and it's really cool too.
Indeed. All right. So name the place that's at the center or heart of Arizona, and that is Payson.
I am excited for this one and talking about this city. It again, amazing city. Because of the tour, actually, I'm very good friends with a group that ended up starting a pride organization because of the tour. So there will now be a Payson Pride that will be starting up soon. There is a group of 8 individuals or so that are running that. They're in the beginning stages, but really excited to see a Payson Pride starting here soon.
Wow, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then we have, what is the California Zephyr? And why is it in Maricopa? I mean, it's a train car. I mean, it's like the Art Deco train car. And it is in Maricopa because that is where you can go and take the train from, either Flagstaff or Maricopa.
So do you know why it's there? You know?
So that's because of Amtrak being now having the big station in Maricopa. They moved the car there, and it's this beautiful Art Deco car that they just moved it back into place, and so it's all polished up and beautiful. It's one of those things where I really would love to have taken the entire train, because I can just imagine if this was just one of the cars, what the whole thing looked like. Just a big gleaming ball of aluminum rolling down the tracks.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny now that you mentioned that. I do remember going. I've ridden Amtrak once because I wanted to ride a train, and it went through Maricopa, and I found it interesting that it doesn't go through Phoenix.
It did up until the 90s. Now they're talking about actually bringing train travel back, but Amtrak, I think they're getting the ball rolling, but it's not for quite some time. Like 2035 is when they're looking at actually having Amtrak service back here in Phoenix. But, you know, I sure wish there was a train between like here and Tucson.
Would be wonderful.
It would be
always heard, I thought I've heard of that idea several times. But
people keep talking about it, but no one has done it yet. So I'm hoping
that's what we need to do.
Oh, it would be so nice not to have to take that drive, which all it takes is one person have done something a little wrong, and now everyone's backed up for miles and hours. So, indeed. So, yeah. So, I mean, I love train travel.
Do you do the sleeper cars too?
I've done the sleeper car. Actually, I did a trip from New York to oh gosh, that was Chicago. And that was back when they had individual sleepers. So you will sleep with a window and you just saw scenery go by you, which was pretty cool.
I was so bad. I remember doing the sleeper car with a friend, and when they do that, they rehook it up to like a different track. It's banging at night, and so my friend's like, "Did you hear that?" I was like, "What are you talking?" I made her think she was crazy. I was like, "What?" I slept. There was no banging. I mean, there was no way anybody could sleep through that. I mean, you were rocking.
But yeah, no, I love train travel. I mean, I love like at the dining car, getting to sit down with complete strangers and just kind of
you get to meet the most amazing and just like interesting people on the train. I loved it.
Right, and people aren't necessarily. It's like hurry, hurry, hurry. It's kind of like we'll get there when we get there. Unlike a plane where people are like, okay, we left 5 minutes late. How are we gonna make that 5 minutes up?
But you'll be in Texas, I'll tell you, for like 10 days. I felt because it goes like from the top to the bottom and then over.
Oh,
at a and it's like, and then you're in Texas forever.
So it's not the Texas shortcut.
No. No.
All right. So in honor of both our cocktails, I think this is a good time to cheers as well. Cheers. Oh my gosh, yours is empty.
I'm ahead of you. I have all of my ingredients right here though. So I don't have a bartender, sadly. I need to get one of those.
So where is the hummingbird capital of the U.S.? It is right in the middle of Sierra Vista. And it's an amazing place. I mean, you can stay there and you can literally just watch hummingbirds for hours as they just sit there in the feeders and just go to town. And then you're in Sierra Vista, which again is one of those amazing little Arizona towns.
And it's not, it's getting quite big. It's, I want to say it's like again, fact checks here, but I think it's like the 7th largest city in Arizona. It's pretty, I didn't
realize it was that large.
Yeah, it's like about 50,000, a little over. Well, you also have the base there. You have the...
Oh, that's right. You've got the base. Well, and and it's like, I know every time I go to Bisbee Pride, it's like everyone I run into is either from Bisbee or Sierra Vista.
Yeah.
So that makes complete sense.
Which is very interesting because the dynamics between like the people, like it's interesting because Bisbee is just Bisbee. And then Bisbee's amazing, but...
Yeah, but
it's so different. Like it's a culture shock. I feel like you can travel 20 minutes and be in they're just so vastly different, Sierra Vista and Bisbee. So,
completely.
Yeah.
So, how was your performance in Sierra Vista?
So, Sierra Vista was good. It was, it was near the end of the tour. We had a pretty large amount of individuals, but not necessarily as large as we had hoped. But it was, again, the energy. The people loved it. Living in Tucson, Sierra Vista is an hour away. I will say what was cool for me is in order to, before we ended up going, I ended up getting myself a military badge so I can go promote on base. And that was I never realized it's Fort Huachuca in that area. The fact that it's just a city in itself. Like I've never been on a base in my life. And I was like, you had hotels and fast food chains and just, it was a city. I was like, whoa. And and I have now a military badge because if you live within 60 miles of the base, you can get a year pass for no charge. So I just wanted a day pass and they gave me a year pass. So
wow.
But Sierra Vista is nice. I love it. It's a really cute city and but I live so close and I go to Bisbee all the time. So
when Sierra Vista, it was home to McDonald's very first drive-through.
This is true. I learned this. I did learn this. I did not know that.
Yeah, it was because of the military. It was like because they couldn't get out and show their military clothing to civilians, so nobody was going to McDonald's. So the owner decided to put in a drive-through so people could just drive up and get food.
I love how you have all this history. I just love it.
Well, and then several years ago, I actually found somebody had taken film footage of driving from Fort Huachuca to Bisbee back in the early 40s. And so I donated that to the Bisbee Mining Museum. I didn't even watch it. So I'm hoping it was good footage. I hope there was at least some interesting things along the way. We're just showing how much the cities have changed.
Yeah.
So
back to Hummingbird.
I can see you made yourself a little cocktail. All right. So now the Tesla competitor, Lucid, is based out of Casa Grande, which is, Casa Grande is one of those cities that keeps kind of having boom, and it's booming right now. I mean, you've got Lucid, you've got all kinds of, I think there's a Frito-Lay factory there.
Frito-Lay factory.
Yeah, there's all kinds of fun stuff. They've got a neon park going on in Casa Grande. So lots of fun stuff going on down there.
So yeah, it's one of those cities I feel like a lot of people just kind of, when you're on your way to Phoenix to Tucson, people don't realize like the actual like population of Casa Grande is pretty large because it's not off of that interstate. So it's definitely I grew up in Florence, so Casa Grande is actually pretty close, near and dear to my heart. I used to actually sit on a board in Casa Grande for an organization, and that's kind of where my start kind of started. My journey. I actually was in, I was in a class. We watched Freeheld. Not sure if you ever saw that movie, but it's about an officer who worked 25 years for a New Jersey police department, and her pension couldn't be passed, but it was being done by Equality Arizona, and that's how I kind of started my activism, and how I kind of got involved was in Casa Grande. So I really love when I have the opportunity to go back.
So where did you perform in Casa Grande?
So there's many places that host. Unfortunately, many of them are closed now. But for the tour, we were out of Central Arizona College this year.
Oh, okay.
Which is technically in Coolidge, but it's right there. But there was the Black Box Theater that used to exist.
Oh yeah, with Stacy. Yeah.
Stacy. Okay.
Yeah.
You know JJ?
I don't know JJ.
Okay. But
so Stacy, years ago, they did an event at the museum where they had students reenacting and portraying folks that were in Casa Grande history in the museum as like a Halloween kind of night thing. Oh, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, they have a lot of bars there that they're a large city thriving for some more entertainment, and luckily they have an entertainer there that lives there that can provide them that service once things get up and running.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've done some things with the museum there and a great building. So yeah, so Casa Grande is always, and it's always shocking because people don't, like you said, people don't even realize it's even there, because it's like they think where the big mud house is. That's Casa Grande, and like you said, that's Coolidge. So you got to drive a little bit off the beaten path to get to Casa Grande, but it's well worth it.
I miss, we used to do, like I said, when I was a part, we used to do, we would bring Phoenix and Tucson organizations together, and we would do a festival in the park, kind of like a Pride, but it was really focused on advocacy. And what we would do is we would work with already existing LGBTQ organizations and provide services to those areas. And it was, unfortunately, it's dismantled now, but it's truly an amazing place. So. If you have nobody's not seen it, go to Casa Grande.
Yeah, it's well worth it. And oh my gosh, they have probably one of those beautiful brutalist buildings.
Have you heard of the domes?
So the domes.
Yeah.
So and last week we talked about, so there are these like 6-foot concrete crosses in the dirt that were used in World War II to help with map making with cameras and things. But the domes are kind of cool. Now I know they're getting in kind of rough shape.
Yeah.
So they've been policing them a little bit more than in the past.
Yeah, and unfortunately a lot of, like I know it's a good space for teenagers to go and party, and so.
So yeah, I mean, you've got the domes. I mean, you've got the Neon Park, and then there's Francisco Grande, which is
Yes.
I mean, that amazing brutalist poured concrete hotel.
And their swimming pool is shaped like a baseball bat.
Yes, indeed.
Cool.
Yeah. So lots of stuff to do in Casa Grande. All right. And what southern Arizona city was known for expelling its miners? So Bisbee actually they had a whole issue where the striking miners, they actually put them in train cars and rolled them out of town to get rid of them. But Bisbee, what an amazing little city.
Agreed. It's so much history, so much the art, just the amount of artists, and like it's an oasis. That's the best way I could describe it. And
yeah, I mean, it was the first place in Arizona where they were doing civil unions before equality marriage was a thing.
Yeah. It's just so, and it's the elevation. You're so high. I mean, it snows. And you can go 20 miles in any direction from Bisbee, and it's a different climate. Like Bisbee has its own climate. It's like in a bubble, I swear.
Well, it's really cool because it's kind of on its way to nowhere. I mean, it's like it's a destination onto itself. You're not traveling through somewhere. You are really just going to hang out at Bisbee. I mean, and Bisbee Pride is so much fun.
Yeah, because even from Mexico, I don't even think Bisbee has, because they have Naco right there, and I don't even think you can go through that. You literally have to. I mean, you really have to come either through Agua Prieta over, through Douglas, or there's no really direct. So yeah, you're right. If you're in Bisbee, you went to go to Bisbee.
Yeah, I mean, and places like the Shady Dell, which is
oh my gosh, my friend owns that. Do you know Claire?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. She also has the Classic Rock Couture, her and her husband. I forget her husband's name, but amazing people.
So yeah, I mean, Bisbee has its own really cool vibe. All right. So we're coming down to, I mean, here's question 8. So where is the enchanted historic fairyland called Valley of the Moon? And that is in Tucson, right where you are, Chris.
Exactly.
Okay,
I've had the pleasure of actually going there. I've been there once. It's a really awesome place. Got the pleasure of I used to be the diversity ambassador for the American Cancer Society, and they held an event there. Really awesome.
Oh, nice. Well, why don't I come down at some point and we can go?
Yeah, tell me when you're here.
I've never made it there. Every time I'm down there, it's always when they're not doing anything. So let's find out when they're doing something and make a plan, and let's go.
I'm down.
Visit that really cool, Valley of the Moon. It's been there forever.
I'll have to do my research before we go, so I really know because it was cool to be able to go, but I really didn't know what it was. But I was like, there's a lot of history here. I know
there is. Right, and I think, and then when they do the tour, they actually talk about. I think I don't even want to throw dates out because I don't want to get anything wrong. But yeah, I mean, it's been there quite some time. All right, so what city can say 3 notorious women, Winnie Ruth Judd, Eva Dugan, and Pearl Hart, stayed there? Well, they didn't stay there by choice, but it was for it.
I love it when I saw this question because, again, I'm from Florence. So Eva Dugan, I actually did a report on her, and she was the first woman to be hung in the state of Arizona. And when they hung her, her head fell off and rolled into the spectators. So, yeah, they have if you ever get a chance to go to the Florence Museum, they have the actual nooses that they use to hang her.
Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of other people, because there's like a lot of them, but she's the first woman. I don't know if she's the only woman or not.
Actually, she is the only woman to be hung, because actually Winnie Ruth Judd was supposed to be hung, but that didn't happen.
Oh, see.
And
Maybe
then
they
Pearl Harbor.
after Eva Dugan, they're like, nope, nope.
Well, no, exactly, because that was, I mean, it was talking about how like men were passing out because they weren't quite expecting
Well,
the
maybe
separation.
I don't know, but maybe they're designed for use typically, certain body I don't know. Who knows
Well,
what
I think they got
happened,
the
but
math kind of wrong, and
yeah,
so
something happened.
something happened, and
Ugh.
so yeah. And then you got Pearl Hart, who was the only stagecoach robber from Arizona, woman. And so she was there briefly. So yeah.
It's a lot of history. And I know they're the county seat. They're the fifth oldest city in Arizona. 1866. There's a lot of history. Growing up in Florence, you don't have a lot to do, so you learn a lot.
Well, see, that's why I mean. Oh, and I love on the town hall the clock.
Yes, that building, that building, the old courthouse,
the old quarters. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and they couldn't afford a mechanism for the clock, so they've got a clock that's right twice a day.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, if you like ghosts and things, that place is supposedly haunted because it was built on a Native American or indigenous burial ground.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I should talk to some friends. Maybe we need to do a night over in Florence.
I will skip out on that one, but we'll go to the Valley of the Moon. There's one thing I don't mess with. It's the dead. No, thank you.
Completely understand. All right. And our final question, which city has hosted Arizona's oldest rodeo starting back in 1888?
Oh, Prescott.
Indeed, another fabulous city in Arizona.
It is, but I will say this and like on a positive note with the trivia. In all of the years of doing this, Prescott was an eye-opening experience. We actually had individuals who showed up with guns and to try to deter us. We had to work with the police department there. But, at the end of the day, this is, I think, a really good, for me, I took that message not only there, but then carried it throughout. I think for a lot of people, they felt as soon as marriage equality existed, the struggle for LGBTQ equality was won. And it was a good eye opener that we, especially what we see going on in Florida and other areas of the country, like we need to realize there's much to be done still. And so I was very thankful for the experience in Prescott, although scary, and we continued and we pushed on with the show. It was quite the experience.
Well, and that's a throwback to some of the very early events that were happening for the LGBT community here in Tempe, where the police suggest the folks holding the event said, "Oh, you might not want to do this because there's death threats." And they were like, "Oh no, we're still going to do them because we have to."
Yeah. So there's a bridge that went from the hotel to the warehouse where we were performing, and the drag queens were walking across the bridge with the men at the bottoms doing donuts and supposedly having guns. We had our own people in the community that had guns just in case. Like, wow. It was not fun, but it took me back to be like, this must have been what it was like on a much smaller scale. I'm sure, like, back in the day, this is everyday life, sadly. But I was like, wow, just the ability to be a part of something like this and what we're doing. It was just amazing. Scary, but amazing.
But I think it also kind of reinforces is exactly why you're doing things like this.
Exactly.
Because those are, I mean, everyone has a voice.
Yep.
So.
And we just need to make sure that our voices are heard and that we use them for the greater good.
Yeah. See, and I always think it's kind of, so in the 50s, there was a drag queen, Lee Leonard, who was doing drag in Globe.
Oh, Globe's a good place. Rose Moffat.
Yes, exactly. Rose Moffat is from, yeah. So Miami Globe. So yeah, so I can't imagine in the 50s doing a regular drag show.
That's impressive.
So I'm like, wow, would love to be able to sit down with Lee Leonard and chat.
Oh, so there's still, oh.
So he's long gone, sadly, but it's one of
Oh.
those names that people just don't. No one knows no one hardly knows anything about him.
Well,
which is sad.
I will have to. You said what was his name? I'm going to do some research.
Lee Leonard.
Lee Leonard. Thank you.
So you are welcome. I can send you one of the ads of where he was.
Please do. Please do.
I've almost wanted to like go visit the space and see if the bar that he was performing in is still there, which it probably is.
Do you know what it's called?
On top of my head, I don't, but
okay.
I will send you one of the ads.
Perfect.
So
another place we'll have to do like a trip.
Yeah,
Sounds like we're gonna have all of these places to go.
Right. Well, no, exactly. I mean, that's the fun. There's so many amazing spots to go visit in Arizona.
Agreed.
With such diverse history.
Mm-hmm. In diverse history, diverse climates, just cultures. We are Arizona is an amazing place. I wouldn't live anywhere else. I actually love, I'm fortunate. I've seen all 50 states now. It was a goal of mine. Been everywhere. Arizona's amazing. Hands down.
And it was funny. So when I was in Castle Dome, I actually was there with a group of Canadians. Oh. And they were just like, they just couldn't believe that people lived in such beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so beautiful out there.
Hmm.
So it was a lot of fun. I think in some ways it was kind of eye-opening for them, just because it's like they were like mainly from Toronto, so used to that big city life. And
here
they were in Castle Dome.
Oh, in Castle Dome.
Yeah.
Oh, with two people. They doubled the population or tripled it that night. So is there a hotel there? Because I want to go there now that I've seen the history.
With Castle Dome there is not, but it's about an hour north of Yuma.
Okay. I felt like I've been almost everywhere in Arizona, but
I mean, it's an amazing place. I mean, and it's, have you been to the Yuma Territorial Prison?
I've been to Yuma, but not the Territorial Prison.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you can see why it was called like the hellhole, because it indeed was not a place where you would have enjoyed being.
Yeah. Doesn't sound okay.
It's well worth a visit. So, what I love is I see people, there's Todd. Well, hello, Mr. Bailey.
Todd Bailey.
Todd Bailey. He works over at the Arizona Heritage Center over in Papago Park.
Well, hello, Todd.
So I see people already. I see Anita's already chiming in with their score. So I always like to ask, how did people do? So, and I always say, it's not what you got right or wrong, but look at the little stories that and some of the history, and so more about those small towns, maybe even a chance to visit. Oh, so Chris, you know him. Oh, actually, I'm gonna be tricky. Look at that. So you know each other from the dancer world.
Dancer world. Okay. Yep. I see the picture there. I'm on my phone, but I do see it pop up.
Okay.
You're correct.
Indeed. So, Chris, what else do you have going on?
Hoy. A lot. Outside of personal life, I'm currently working to go to school for my master's and then my doctorate's currently, I'm in that process.
Oh, wow. Right, I didn't realize you were going to go through and go for the doctorate as well.
I am. I made that decision. Well, while I work for the state and the state is paying for my education, yes.
Get it while you can, because.
Yep. So, yeah. That in itself is a lot of work, but outside of that, I'm going to be doing the Pride Tour again and looking forward to returning to several of the places. 3 of them are the 3 mentioned. We'll be going back to Payson, to Ajo, as well as Lake Havasu. We are adding Florence for the first time, which I'm really excited about because I'm from Florence and it's going to mean a lot to me. To go back and just do a show where I've not necessarily experienced the best life growing up, to kind of go back and be like, I'm here is just going to be amazing. I'm so excited for that. And then we'll be adding Maricopa. So I'm really excited for that. I do my bi-weekly shows here in Tucson. We're getting close on our 1-year anniversary. We're going to be starting in June a Canna Drag event for those that like to participate in cannabis and watching a drag show and all in one. And so that'll be fun. I don't partake in but it'll be fun being around those. The vibe is just amazing. I love it. Just chill people and chill
lots of laughter.
I
think there'll be lots of laughter going on.
Yeah, well, it'll be fun because I like to drink, but so we'll be on different levels. It'll be fun. So doing that, and then working with the mall, working with getting some drag in trying to revitalize the mall and getting some people in there and doing some really large events at the Tucson Mall. So lots of things right now are in the works. Just started my LLC and going business. I realized this last tour, I realized you cannot run an LLC as a nonprofit. Not good. You get taxed for every money you raise. They tax you as income earned. And I was like, yeah, that's not good. After raising $30,000 and then getting a nice, lovely tax, I was like, we got to make some business decisions and change some things a little bit, but lots of things in the works.
Cool. That is great to hear.
And what about you? What's going? Yeah.
Oh, it's like
what's coming up. What are some of I'm excited. First of all, thank you for having me. But what are some of the upcoming what's next week? I'm curious.
Oh, so it's Zia Records.
Zia Records.
Yeah. Okay. Which is Phoenix and Tucson.
So, yes, I love
so my friend Mary is going to be on talking about that. We've got some really fun stuff coming up. Carmela Ramirez. So all kinds of cool stuff going on.
And this is every Thursday.
Every Thursday night.
7 o'clock.
Yeah, 7 o'clock. I know I know in the middle of actually early June is Burnarella, an event that is being put on by some burners down in Bisbee. So I'm going to be doing a walking tour and possibly some other things with them. So that should be fun, getting a whole new crowd to see Bisbee.
Invite. I love Bisbee.
Oh, I know. I haven't been there in so long, and I'm looking forward to getting a chance to go to Bisbee because I love Bisbee.
Oh, yes. Are you going to Pride this year?
Are they? Have they chosen?
Are. It is, I believe. When? Well, I shouldn't say that. I was in talk with Ramon, and they're working on it. I can't say I don't want to say that. I don't want to give misinformation. Okay. I believe so. I know Flagstaff is 100%.
Ah, okay. Very cool. Well, so I'm also working on this LGBT book of Phoenix history that's been rather fascinating.
Oh.
We just did a scan-a-thon event the other day. And so people could bring in photos. Some folks brought in some T-shirts. So I think we're going to try and do a happy hour at one gentleman's house and try to get some of his friends there to just kind of start, as you have a drink and you start talking stories, one person will feed off the another.
That sounds fun.
So yeah, so that's always an exciting thing. Just trying to dig up more history. So
love it.
Yeah, because there's so many stories to tell.
Mm-hmm. No, I love it. In when you shared with me the trivia and everything, I was like, some things I knew, and I was like, but there's things I was like, I didn't know that. That's so cool. And it just inspired me to want to learn more, go to these places. So I'm really, again, thankful to be here tonight, and really awesome that you're doing what you're doing. So thank you.
And the cool thing about Ignite coming up next month is, so my topic is, I'm trying to think that I think the title we came up with, the Rainbow Oasis. So really looking at LGBTQ history in Arizona. And so it'll be a lot of fun to share some of those stories, and then they will record that so people can see that, not just at the event, but it'll just be posted.
That'd be cool.
So that'll be a lot of fun. So yeah. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of your stories. And,
Yes.
and of course yourself. I mean, we've only been talking about this for years, so
Yeah.
I'm so glad we're finally able to do it.
I feel it's been that long. I was like, but it happened. So thank you again. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you soon. We have some travels to do now.
Indeed, I'm looking so excited to Valley of the Moon.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you take care, and I'll touch base with you soon.
Sounds good. Have a great night, Chris. Oh my gosh, Chris, thank you so much. That was pretty great. So, okay, so now we have From the Vault. And so what we're talking about here is, so when I went to Yuma, I actually flew back through Sky Harbor. And as I'm walking through, all of a sudden I see this work of art. And I always forget how much art the airport has up, not just the public art that's always there, but so many rotating displays. So this was Champ and Such Styles. Father and son did this. Such has actually been a guest on this show talking about Keith Haring, how he became friends with Keith Haring when Keith was here painting that mural here in the 80s. And so I was so excited to get a chance. I've seen it on Facebook, but it was so beautiful to see in person. So, they've also got a really cool exhibit on some of those Arizona airlines from like the 60s and some of those crazy outfits. I was running a little late, fancy that, and I didn't get a chance to take any photos, but I think I'm going to try and go back just to take a look at those outfits the stewardesses you would have worn back in the time period. So thank you all so much for being here. And this is why we always say, please share if you're on Facebook, because we get to have so much fun with Arizona history and get to talk about not old history as well as new history. It's a little bit of everything. So that's why I always let people when they share, because we try to make Arizona history fun, interesting. And next week we have Mary with Zia Records, and that's going to be really cool. We get a chance to find out how Zia got formed, where all they are in the Southwest. So that's going to be some good stuff, and how they've actually changed the record store industry, not just locally, but nationally. So that's going to be a really good time. Some music history as well. So always look forward to it. And seeing Mary will be such a good time. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Remember, if you have any stories, suggestions, comments, you can either throw those in the chat or feel free to email, Facebook, or whatever. I love to hear from you all. I mean, that's honestly where I get some of my best stories and ideas are from some people saying, hey, what about this? So I always want to give a shout out to Chris and Cole, who did that amazing intro at the beginning, as well as PJ, who hits it out of the park every week with an amazing cocktail. And Hummingbird Punch was no slouchy cocktail. So our outro, because we talked a little bit about the cemetery up in Castle Dome, we are going to see a little bit that the Cronkite Journalism School put on for the Pioneer Cemetery right here in downtown Phoenix. So everyone, have a great rest of your night, and I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Hello, and welcome to this evening's Hip Historian Virtual Happy Hour Tour. I am Brenda Holt with AARP.
With the growth of genealogy companies, people are looking for more and more ways to research their family histories. Well, there's one place in Phoenix where you're able to go back 130 years to find ancestors. Samantha Chow introduces us to the people that are ensuring this place exists for future generations.
Sometimes I wonder, what is the point? If nobody's coming to visit, why are we maintaining cemeteries that no longer seem to have a function? Cemeteries aren't for the dead, they're for the living. And usually after a couple generations, the family stops visiting. So that's when deterioration and problems start to happen. But there's such an interest in genealogy today. You can't just go on Ancestry.com and find everything. There's a lot of things there, but you need to come to the cemetery to get the details. These may be the only record that they were ever on this planet.
The Pioneer Cemetery Association is a keeper of historic cemeteries. They do research. They also help out with this cemetery, which is the Pioneer and Military Memorial Park, and we just try to watch over.
Today I'm cleaning a grave site. It's of a little 5-year-old girl. Her name was Amy. And the monument to her, it's not just a headstone, it looks like a little cradle around her grave.
We know how to look at it and know that it was never put together. It was just kind of sat there. This one we're taking all apart, cleaning, then we'll use a setting compound and set it together.
1 degree off, I can look at that.
So it'll stay in one piece.
They brought me in to work on some of the more complicated problems.
Oh yeah, we need to get some boards in.
Sometimes it's like a jigsaw puzzle without the box.
I think I can deal with that.
You're working with pieces that sometimes are just small fragments. We're repairing them with an epoxy, and then whether it's a crack or just a huge chunk of the stone missing will all be replicated with a lime-based patching material. We'll do our best to make the patches not so obvious. We're not making them look new, we're just trying to preserve everything we have and make them stable.
So when you see something bagged, that means it's been worked on.
At some point, somebody's going to come in here looking for this information, and it'll be there for them if we preserve it.